I'm wondering, now looking back on your entire life, is there anything you would change about, your journey? Would you have done something differently?
No. So
No. Mm-hmm.
I can confidently say no. Was it easy? No. The first few months of the company, I had just broken up with a partner. I was sleeping on my brother's sofa. Like I was newly single and 30. And I was like, oh no. And, at that time, if you asked me, I would have been like, what did I do? Is this the right choice? But honestly, had I not gone through that experience, I would not have been where I am now. And so, no, there's so many mistakes I've made. There was one mistake, we lost $50,000 very quickly. And, I learned a lot through that mistake, and like, what groups do I want to work with? Who do I trust? How am I setting up my legal agreements? How do I do this? And so, there was some hard hitting learning curves, but at the same time, I just feel grateful that, nothing has been so bad that has left me, obviously struggling. I have entrepreneur friends who have gone into massive debt and had a really hard time. I feel grateful that I'm not there, but at the same time, there's nothing that I would change. Maybe it would have been trying to find an entrepreneurship community sooner. That was it. In the first few months of running the company, I felt quite alone. I was kind of like, I have to get everyone busy. I put a lot of pressure on myself. I was really perfectionistic. I wish then I had an entrepreneur community. But other than that, no, there's nothing I would have changed. Even, running a company with a partner is a learning curve. And so not only am I running it as a female leader, which has its own challenges, running it with your life partner also is a learning curve. And so we have a really good family business coach who, I think finding somebody, a coach, a therapist, whoever it is that is in your corner, that is how you stay healthy. In running a company, is always having that person that you can go to.
Yeah, it's about knowing to ask for help, because I think a lot of leaders struggle with that.
Yes. And I think, Tony at Zappos is a good example where it's, we don't want to hear the difficult stories where I was afraid to ask for help or I wasn't coping, or it's too late and, we're talking about it after that person lost their life. It's okay to ask your entrepreneur friends, how are you doing? How are you coping? Entrepreneurship is really hard and lonely. It's pandemic right now. Like, how are you dealing with this loss and grief? And so I think those questions really matter. And so even if, you're not an entrepreneur or you're not in that person's entrepreneur circle, ask the question, right? Like check in with people that are running businesses and just say, how are you coping right now? Because it's the connection that gets us all through. It doesn't matter if you get what it means to own a business or figure out spreadsheets. It matters that you're human and you're reaching out and saying, hey, how are you coping?
So Megan, what are some goals that you're currently working on in terms of, keeping yourself growing and taking you to that next level? What are you learning, reading? Yeah.
So currently, I think this is going to be my biggest adventure yet. I will be having my first child, which is a whole other lesson in failure and growth and learning and trying something new and, all the uncertainty that comes with parenting. So I'm really excited actually to be focused on something else a little bit outside the business. That being said, I'm also learning, how am I going to take a mat leave and what is our mat leave policy in our company and what does this look like as the CEO? But I'm a big reader, so I read a lot. I just read again, Measure What Matters, which is a really good book about setting targets and goals in your company. So one of my goals is making sure I have clear goals and vision for my team before I go off on mat leave. So reviewing that as a company. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I like that kind of bite-sized information. So I've been listening to some parenting ones to try to get ahead of this learning curve. I don't know if that's possible, but I've also been, there's also some that I just love. There's There's a writer and researcher named Laura Vanderkam. She has one. She talks a lot about time management. She has a podcast called Before Breakfast, or The New Corner Office. She has two, but it's like bite-sized snippets, which I find really helpful. And then I kind of just look up podcasts as I go. So over the years, I listened to a lot of Amy Porterfield. I listen to, you know, some mental health podcasts. I love anything by NPR, but I like that bite-sized information. Some of my favorite business books, there's The One Thing, which is important as a leader to, you know, it helps you to think about, well, what is the most important thing I can do right now that can move the needle? I also like, I'm trying to think, Profit First, if you're trying to structure your business and think about how you're going to manage the money. And our company operating system, we switched this year to the EOS system, which is like the entrepreneur operating system. Another great read to think about how you're structuring your company, how you're having meetings. And so if you're into reading about business and leadership, you know, I could make a whole recommendation, as could you, I'm sure. But I always think, you know, use the time when, you know, you want to be a little busy, you want to be thinking, use that time to learn something new. So I do it when I'm getting ready in the morning. I don't like doing my hair, so I listen to a podcast, and it like keeps me going. And you know, I think learning one new thing a day is really cool. And so if it's one tip, that's all you need, is just one new thing.